Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe.
Hello and welcome to episode 8 of An Old Guy in Europe.
Today, I'm going to take us on a walk through my lovely hometown of Ericeira, Portugal. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm starting our little walk at the southern end of Ericeira. We're overlooking Praia do Sul, or South Beach. And unfortunately, as you can see, the fog blocks off pretty much everything but the immediate coast. But I find Ericeira is beautiful no matter the weather conditions, even when it's raining. So the first structure of import is the Vila Galé Hotel, which has been around for probably approaching 100 years at this point, not in this form. It was originally a spa location here in Ericeira back in the early 1900s or perhaps late 19th century, and has since that time undergone a few conversions and is now a modern, well, relatively modern but classic hotel. So now we're going to start heading north. I will stay as close to the ocean as I can be as I approach the villa. But it's a bit of a short walk to get there. So I'm taking this particular route because this was my very first experience of being in and around the immediate villa of Ericeira. We parked down this street and then headed into the villa center. I'll try and show you around a little bit as I walk. And I have to be very careful with the sidewalk here. Because it's lumpy and bumpy. It's not unusual to find dog poop on it. Fortunately, it's not damp at all today because it can also be very slippery. So this is just the outskirts of the center of Ericeira. As I said, we're heading north. The walk should include where we started all the way to São Sebastião, which is another area of Ericeira. And I think it normally takes about 20 minutes to make the entire walk. We'll see how it goes today. So now we're going to go left or west toward the ocean. These homes, I don't know if you can see, are right on the edge of the cliffs overlooking the ocean. Some pretty prime real estate. a little bit of a view of what this home has got. And then just a few more steps here, we'll get a much better look at the Villa Galais Hotel as we come up on this wonderful view. So there's the hotel, and you can see down, it's low tide right now, but there's rocks along the sand there that when the tide comes in serve as kind of a break from the ocean, so it becomes more or less a seawater pool, a very small lagoon. It's great that you get a chance to see the rocks that create that. In high tide, you can't even see them. And I've never fact-checked, I don't know, but I have noticed that the hotel has 2 swimming pools. My guess is that one is a seawater pool and the other one is freshwater. At this point, there's not a whole lot to see, so I'll cut it here and pick up when I get somewhere interesting. In episode 5, I talked about my very first experience of Ericeira, and that we went to Almozo at the restaurant where Sidonio and Louisa's son Guillermo worked at the time. And that is right there. So from there, we're going to head into the villa, and you'll get my first, what I referred to, my almost like Disneyland experience of arriving at this particular view coming up for the first time in real life. Right there, in a strange way, this view took my breath away because I'd seen it so many times in photos when I was still in California. So this particular walk takes us right to the center of the village, which is, let me see if I can get the Portuguese right, Praça da República, which means Square of the Republic. It's a fairly common name for the parks in the various towns and villages, named in remembrance of the, I say, mostly peaceful revolution in Portugal, overthrowing the dictatorship at the time back in 1974. So along this street, as you can see, are lots of businesses. I would say, especially this time of the year, we're just coming on to the high season, which is usually late July and mostly in August. It's kind of mid-July, getting on late July now. So it will be busy, but not near as busy as it gets in the height of the high season, which is coming up next month. Lots of restaurants. A little bit of traffic. Lots of surfing related places in Ericeira. And here, a mostly tourist type store. Free Surfer Surf School. It's a recurring theme, even the coming events are about surfing. Now this particular place on the left, Ericeira pau, and pau is Portuguese for bread. This is the place that is where we nearly weekly come and stop for coffee and to get our bread and so on and so forth. So that's etched a very clear mark in my memory of Ericeira. We got Bowls Surf Cafe. Which has all kinds of, well, more or less that. So that's the influence of international tourism demand. This is the tourism office for Ericeira. I'll pop my head in, I won't go all the way through, but just to get kind of an idea of what it looks like on the inside. Well, I forgot to point out, let me go back just a little bit. It's one of my favorite things is gelato, which is, I just pronounced intentionally in a Italian way. Ice cream in Portuguese is gelado with a D. This is one of 3 geladarias that offer Italian-style gelato. And now we're coming up into the Praça da República. Immediately is Vanessa, which is another of my favorite gelato locations. And this is a view of the Praça from the southern end. You can see it's a very busy place. One of the things that I really love and appreciate about Portuguese culture is that people actually just sit. And an interesting thing about these particular trees, they call them, I think we call them plane trees. I forget what variety they are. I love the bark on them. I say that must be where they got the inspiration for camouflage, painting and clothing and so on. But they prune these trees all the way back to nothing but branches in the wintertime, which then allows all the sun to hit the square. And then as the season wears on, we're now kind of mid-summer, the foliage grows and it starts producing lots of shade. So it becomes almost full shade by the end of the summer. Very smart planning in terms of landscaping. That's this symbol here with the green and white and the cross will tell you where the pharmacies are. And the pharmacies can do more than pharmacies in the United States in that they can actually recommend various drugs and supplements for what might be ailing you. It doesn't always require a doctor, which is kind of nice. I'm taking us down here. I showed you the sign of the Surf Film Festival this is the building that it's going to happen in. This is sort of the town performing arts or art center. They feature local art in the gallery. And then whenever they have a film festival or particular film of interest, they'll bring it here. I guess I'll just continue down this street because I want to end up in the same place. Which is ultimately at the next beach north of the Praia do Sul. So you get a look of a fairly traditional Portuguese setup. You'll see lots and lots of this particular stonework, cubes of stone making up the streets and the sidewalks. It's known as calçadas. And it takes quite a bit of skill and knowledge to keep them in good repair, because they will get out of place from time to time and need that repair. So here we are. Can't see much beyond the coast. You will more than likely see many images of this particular beach. This is probably the main beach in Ericeira, and it's called Praia dos Pescadores, which is Fisherman's Beach. And you'll see over here, all of those trucks and buildings and shacks belong to fishermen. And you can't even really see, you can barely see the launch ramp at the end, which is where they drag all these boats, and I mean literally drag. Most of them are not on trailers, they have little sort of wooden skis on the bottom, and they're pulled by a tractor down that ramp and into that ocean that you can't see. There's a breakwater on the other side. I wish I had more control over the weather, but I don't, and this is the day I chose. So perhaps it'll clear up a little later, and on my walk back, we'll be able to see a bit more. So again, when we make that usual weekly visit to Ericeira, we also come to this place and stand along this wall somewhere. An interesting feature, the spikes there, it's not just decorations, designed to keep the gulls off, keep them from pooping all over the top of that dome. Pragmatic culture, as I say very frequently. So a little different vantage point on the beach. And all that sand that goes up to the edge of the rocks there was dug out about a year ago to where there was no sand at all, right up to about where those rocks are. But every year, because of the way the ocean works, it drifts sand down the coast from north to south. And if they've got a break, which we can't see, as I said, then the sand comes down and it doesn't get swept south from here. It just builds up in the little bay that's formed. It's very, very similar to Santa Cruz, California, and the harbor. Now, I want to share with you this statue. I don't know know how well we can see it. This was installed brand new less than 6 months ago, and it's a portrayal of a fairly typical Portuguese fisherman. It was shiny bronze when it was installed, and within a day it started already to develop this patina. It's a very strong feature this fisherman has, and he's built like an ox. But it's a fairly popular stopping place now, obviously, to look and see. Okay, I'm going to continue heading north along this seawall. When we stop here and do this, we being Louisa Sidonio and me, she likes to say, we're going to see the sea. And I should add that all these umbrellas and chairs and even the little food shack down there, they're all just seasonal. They arrived here somewhere around the 1st of June, and they'll be gone somewhere around the 1st of September. You can see volleyball is also very popular here on the beach. Almost always, regardless of the weather, you'll see volleyball being played, and when all these umbrellas aren't here, you have 4 or 5 volleyball courts. So we'll continue down, see the places they have. I love, again, that Portugal honors its culture of sitting and relaxing and provides lots of space to do that in oftentimes very beautiful places. And you can see they even provide shade, because pretty much only non-Portuguese go out in the middle of the day in the sun when it's hot. Fortunately today the fog is really cooling things off, so it's not too bad. We've got a couple of guys having a lot of fun. I'm going to stop it here. Not a whole lot of interest to see. Do a time check.